Who's ready for a man's edition of freezer meals? Hey guys, Kira here from 50 Shades of Mom, back with another Vlogmas video, and today I wanted to share with you a man's edition of some freezer meals. So I am leaving to go home to Long Island for Christmas this year, and unfortunately I'm leaving my husband behind. But as the wife of the home, I'm usually the one that's doing the cooking here. So I always get a little bit nervous about how hubby is going to take care of himself when mama is not home. So today I wanted to make 4 separate freezer meals so that he can just pull some meals out, defrost them, and have a couple of days worth of good hearty eating. So the first thing I'm going to share with you today is what I wanted to do, a turkey pot pie, but he said if he had a choice he would prefer chicken. So I took this recipe, and instead of turkey we're doing chicken pot pie, and I'm really excited to show it to you guys because it's my first time making pot pie and it's coming absolutely beautiful. So let me take you down to the counter and show you how to make turkey pot pie. Okay guys, so here's what you're going to need to make this chicken pot pie. So you're going to need 2 bottom halves with your pie crust in there ready to go, and then 2 pie pieces to put on top. So it's 4 pie crusts in total. You're going to need a cup of milk. You're going to need 1 cup of onion, 1 cup of celery. You're going to need 2 cups of broth, 1/3 cup flour, 2 cups cooked chicken, and then you're supposed to have 1 cup cooked diced carrots and 1 cup frozen peas. But we like green beans and corn in our pot pie, so I'm using 2 cups of mixed vegetables instead of a cup of each. So the first step is for us to take our vegetables in some butter and cook them down. So let's get that in a pot going. Okay guys, so once all of our veggies were done, we added in that 1/2 cup of flour and then 2 cups of chicken broth and 1 cup milk. And now we have a really good base for our filling. So we're going to add in the 2 cups of cooked chicken. And then you're going to mix that in, and then you're just going to salt and pepper to taste. Now the key to this is letting it cool if you're going to cook it immediately inside of the pie crust. If you put this in there hot, it starts to cook the pie crust on the inside before it's ready to cook from the outside in. So you definitely want your mixture to cool, but this is it. Now it's done, and once this is cold, we can assemble it. Here are our pie crusts, and while it's cooling, let me just explain to you the various different ways you guys can set this up. Now, if you're baking this now, you would set your oven to 375 degrees. You'd put your cooled fillings 1/2 in each, cover the top. You could do whatever design that you want to do, whether you want to, poke little holes in it, make it pretty, crimp the sides, however you want to do it. And then you would bake it for 30 to 40 minutes or until golden brown. Now, if you're going to freeze this, you can do it one of 2 ways. You can assemble the whole thing and freeze the whole thing as it is and ready to go into the oven, or you can just freeze the filling and defrost the filling in its entirety and just add it to the pie crust that day. So it's whatever option you feel, but I want to make it as easy for Daryl as possible. So I'm going to wait for this to cool. We'll fill these, and then I'll show you how to assemble the tops and what it looks like before it goes in and when it comes out. Okay guys, our filling is cool and we have our 2 pie shells here. So I'm going to divide the filling into 2 equal portions and put it here in each shell. Okay, so I think they're as even as I'm going to get them. And now we have the other pie shell crust. So we're going to drape that pie shell crust over the top. And then you're going to crimp around your edges. And I'm going to grab a fork. It's always really good to fork the edges on the side of any kind of pie crust, just so that it helps keep those 2 crusts together. Although I'm talking like I really know, but baking is definitely not my forte. I can cook all day, every day, but baking has just never been my thing. Baking, unfortunately, is a lot of precision, and I'm like a mover and a shaker. I like a little bit of this, and a little bit of that, and a dash of this, and a dash of that. So when something tells me, you have to do it this way, only this way, I struggle with that a little bit, but I do my best when I am in the kitchen baking because I still enjoy it. It's still fun to me because who doesn't like to eat sweets, right? I mean, I like to eat all the bakery goods, so. All right, let me grab a fork. We're gonna fork the sides and make sure they're all crimped and good, and then we're also going to cut slits in the top to let some of the air out so that there's no collapsing of it, and it helps let the steam out. Otherwise there's always tons of overflow. Okay guys, so they're not the prettiest, but I'm sure they'll taste just good. I tried to put them both on one cookie sheet, but they will not fit. So I just did 1 a piece, but I made sure to crimp the edges and I cut off any of the excess, and I made 4 slits in each. And now we're going to stick it in a 375-degree oven for 35 to 40 minutes. Okay guys, so here's what they look like hot and out of the oven. It really smells like a homemade pot pie in here. So yummy. So we're going to eat one of these tonight, and then we're going to freeze the other one so that he can just pull this out of the freezer, defrost it, and cut it into slices, and he will have a warm chicken pot pie for when I'm gone. So the next recipe that I want to share with you is a bacon cheeseburger casserole in the crock pot. When I came across this recipe, it just screamed my husband. So what we did tonight is we made a big batch of this bacon cheeseburger casserole, and we had some for dinner, and then I'm freezing the leftovers. So let me take you down to the counter and let's make some bacon cheeseburger casserole. So next we are making a cheeseburger casserole, which when I saw this recipe, like I said, it just screams my husband. I just know that it's something he is going to love to eat. And it's very easy. We're just going to prepare majority of it in the pot, and then we're going to stick it in the crock pot to get all warm and gooey for a couple of hours. So you're going to need a bag of tater tots. You're going to need 3 cups of cheddar cheese. You're going to need some sour cream, 2 pounds of ground beef, a small diced onion, 4 cloves of garlic, a 12 to 16 ounce bag of mixed vegetables, 10 ounces of bacon diced, 3 cups of milk, a 1/3 cup of flour, and some Worcestershire sauce. Hot sauce is optional, but I'm not going to be adding that today, just so that my kiddos this is more kiddo friendly for at least the first half of this. So the instructions say that we need to get that ground beef and the bacon and the onion going in the pan. So that's where we're going to start off. guys, so once everything was ground, we added in the 1/3 cup of flour, and then we added, once that got like smooth, I threw in the milk and the Worcestershire sauce, and we stirred it around until it got like pretty thick. And then now we're gonna add the frozen vegetables. I removed it from the heat. So we're gonna do that. Frozen vegetables, the 1/3 cup of sour cream, and a whole lot of shredded cheese. All right, we're gonna give this a good stir, and then I'm gonna meet you at the crock pot. Okay guys, here we are at the crock pot, and I took the crock pot first and I sprayed it with some non-stick cooking spray, and then I put a layer of the tater tots at the bottom of the crock pot. And now we're gonna take this hot mixture and we're gonna just pour that over the top. Holy cow, that just looks so good. It tastes awesome. I had no problem tasting it because all the meat is thoroughly cooked through. So now we're going to smooth this out. And we're going to top this with the rest of those tater tots. Ooh boy, that is going to be so delicious. So now we're going to set this in the crock pot on low for 3 to 3.5 hours. And in the last 10 minutes, we're going to put a layer of cheddar cheese on the top of this. And it's going to get all ooey and gooey. And then it'll be ready to serve. So I'll meet you guys back here in 3 hours. Okay guys, here it is. Doesn't that look delicious? This was so stinking good. Like instantly rose to the top of the tried and true board. So yummy. It stayed together really great. Has great flavor. You guys saw it wasn't that complicated to make. Definitely love this recipe. Okay guys, next we're on to shepherd's pie. My husband's favorite meal is my shepherd's pie. Now, I've mentioned before on my channel that it's really hard for me to share shepherd's pie because I'm a mover and a shaker. I like to do a little bit of this and a little bit of that, so I never really have a precise recipe. But when shopping at the Dollar Tree, I came across a shepherd's pie seasoning. So I'm gonna go with that recipe and then put a little bit of my flair on it that I'd love to share with you guys. And be able to freezing this for my husband, I think will be the ultimate Christmas gift. And I think he'll truly enjoy this as his Christmas meal. So let's go down to the counter and I'll show you how to make my husband's favorite dish. Okay guys, so now I am back to prep with you guys the shepherd's pie. So today I am using the McCormick's slow cooker shepherd's pie mix. Even though we are going to bake this in the oven, we are not going to use the slow cooker. It's just this combination of flavor seasonings I happen to like. Now this is going to be the only way I could ever really share my shepherd's pie recipe with you guys, because I've mentioned a bunch of times here on my channel that my shepherd's pie is more of a dump meal. I use whatever kind of veggies I have on hand. I use whatever barbecue sauces, ketchup, soy, Worcestershire, hot sauce, wing sauce, it doesn't matter. I always make like my own kind of sauce and glaze with some kind of vegetable and meat. Top it with mashed potatoes and cheese and bake it in the oven. That's my concept of a shepherd's pie. But being that I have this packet here, it's going to make it a little bit easier for you to share with you a recipe. So I have here about a half a cup of corn, a little over, and then this is 3/4 cup of carrots and 3/4 cup of fresh green beans. These are just items that I'm trying to use up before I leave to go home. So that's what I'm using in today's recipe, along with 1.5 pounds of ground beef. Obviously this shepherd's pie mixture, some ketchup, some sriracha, that's just a little bit, it is not spicy at all, and then some Worcestershire sauce. So basically we're putting all of this in one pan with some water, and we're going to cook it all down, and then we're going to make that the base in our pan. And I already have my baking stuff, sorry, that's out as well. I already have my potatoes on the range getting ready to make the mashed potatoes. So I'm gonna set this up in the pan and then I will meet you guys back. Assembly time. I am using a 9x9. Now, normally I would make this in an 11x13 because this is more than enough meat for an 11x13 pan. But being that this is a freezer meal for my husband, and my husband of all people, he is would like more meat ratio than mashed potatoes. So I always try and get a really good, at least half the depth of this pan mixture in there because he really likes it to be super meaty. But for anybody else, I would highly recommend this is a more than enough base product to go at the bottom of an 11x13 pan, and it could easily feed 6 people. But again, like I said, this is my husband's favorite meal, so half the time I could make this for him and just hand him this tray, and he probably would not leave very much left. So you could see that it's like halfway up in this pan. It's a good, nice size. I mean, it's good and heavy. And now we're gonna layer the mashed potatoes on top. So I put the mashed potatoes flush right up to the top. I mean, this thing's got to weigh like 5 pounds. And now we're gonna put cheddar cheese on top, shredded cheddar. I do the Mexi blend because I don't buy multiple different shredded cheeses. And this is the kind that I get from BJ's. It's just the best bang for my buck because it's 6 pounds for $10, and I just don't feel like you could ever beat that deal. So you're just gonna load this up with a good layer of cheese. I probably would say a cup is probably the best estimate. And now we're gonna put this in a 350-degree oven for about 30 minutes. I mean, everything in here is cooked and hot, but you just wanna get all this cheese and everything melted through. And then I'm going to actually let it cool so that I can cut it in 4s and freeze it in sections for Darryl. Look at that beautiful specimen of yumminess. Oh, yeah. That's so perfectly cooked. I'm so proud of myself. Okay guys, so I'm gonna let this cool so that I can separate it. The kids do want some of this for dinner, so I'm gonna portion some out for the kids for dinner, and then the rest I will portion out and save for Darryl. What man just doesn't like a really hearty steak tidbit over some mashed potatoes and gravy? So I prepared this in a double portion as well. So we're eating this for one night of dinner this week, and then the backup we are freezing for him as well. So let's go down to the counter and we'll make some steak tidbits in the crock pot. Okay guys, so we are back to do the fourth and final freezer meal, and let me just show you how easy that this is. So the only thing that's missing right here is the flour, but we're not going to need that until the very end. But all you're going to need is that flour that you don't see here, some beef broth, some mushrooms. I have one of the like standard size containers Darryl just diced up for me. Five cloves of garlic used. And the stew meat that I heavily salt and peppered. So over here I have some olive oil in the pan already hot and ready to go. So if you guys know me, I love to braise my meat. So I'm gonna get this into the pan, get a good crust on it with the garlic and the mushrooms, and then we're gonna transfer that to the crock pot. Okay guys, so we're all done braising our meat, and we got a good cook down of the garlic and the mushrooms. So we're gonna drop the meat down here into a piping hot on high crock pot. And then all we're gonna do, guys, is add a container of beef broth over the top. That is it. You're gonna let this cook for 6 to 8 hours, as really long as you want. Sometimes if I do longer than the 6, it really falls apart, which is obviously great for consistency, but you know, I like a little bulk to my meat if I'm doing more of a steak tidbit kind of thing. I like to leave the water in that comes out, all the juice that comes out of the meat when you're braising it. This way we're not losing any juices. And we're just going to take some beef broth, and we're going to just dump it over. You want to make sure that it's covered. If it's covered and you didn't use the whole container, that's fine, but you just want to make sure that all of your meat is completely covered so that it's soaking the whole time that it's cooking. Which it took my whole container. So I'm going to put the lid on, and I'm going to meet you guys back here in 6 hours. Now once the meat is tender and I'm ready to take it out, I'm going to take the meat out separately, and that's when we're going to whisk in that flour so we can get a good thick consistency on the gravy, and then we'll add the meat back in and we'll be good to go. Okay guys, we are back, and it's about 7 hours later, and I pulled all of the meat out of there. It's like falling apart. It's so tender and so super flavorful. Perfect timing. I think it's going to be really good over the mashed potatoes. But now we're going to make our gravy. So I've left the crock pot on high. You can still see that it's bubbling and everything. So I have a 1/3 cup of flour here. I'm going to sprinkle that in, and I'm going to whisk it up. And you're just going to whisk it until all the lumps are gone. And you're going to let this go probably for about 5 to 10 minutes till all those lumps are completely dissolved and for it to thicken. And once it thickens, you can add the meat back in and you're good to go. Okay guys, so that's it. Gravy is good and thick and coated in here. So now we're going to serve this tonight over mashed potatoes, but you guys could easily freeze this and leave it cooked like this and use it for a future meal already cooked. Or you guys could have taken it straight from that pot before we put it in the crock pot and added it to a freezer bag with the broth and that meat and everything that we stewed up. And this way all you have to do is dump and go for 8 hours. So definitely try this. It is so yummy. Okay guys, so that's it for this man edition of freezer meals. I hope you guys enjoyed the choices that we picked for you guys. It makes me feel so much better knowing that Daryl's gonna have really warm and hearty meals and a full belly while I'm gone. So I definitely will put my mind at ease this holiday season. Don't forget to check the description box because the link to all of these recipes, as usual, will be down below. If you guys are new, I hope you'll take the time to subscribe. I do a freezer meal video, at least I try, once a month, as well as tons of food related things on this channel and tons more. So thank you guys again so much for watching, and we'll see you in our next video. Bye guys.